There are real deadlines and there are arbitrary deadlines. And today, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the difference between them and when arbitrary deadlines are helpful and when they're decidedly not. Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less. Sometimes deadlines are real. More often, they're arbitrary and self imposed. When I work with clients, I teach a method of date based prioritization so that we can plan for the time we actually have instead of the time we wish we had. And this tends to resonate with folks right off the bat for items where there's a real deadline. But then I get the following question: how do I know what date to choose if there's no deadline? This thing can happen at any time. And my answer, well, when do you want to devote time to do this? And does that time align with time you have available to you in your calendar? Now, of course, some things have real deadlines. Taxes, for instance, or that big project your boss just assigned you, or that promise you made. That's not what we're talking about here. But for everything else, what if you started planning to devote time to the things that you want to do without having to have that absolute final deadline in mind? I want to give you a few examples you can think about here. So, what about those things that fall into the kind of nice to do category, or sometimes we call it the someday maybes? Let's say perhaps you really want to organize all those thousands of photos on your phone. And who am I to judge? But does it really need to be done by a certain date? What if more important stuff crops up that causes you to rightfully miss this deadline you set for yourself for the photos? Are you going to feel bad about missing this arbitrary deadline? Probably. But why? What if instead you schedule time into your calendar at a pace that works for you to steadily work away at this goal until it's done, whenever that is? Or how about some of our personal goals? Do you find it difficult to put a timeline to your personal goals? Or do you tell yourself, I'll lose 10 pounds by September, and then you feel absolutely terrible about it when September passes and you're not there yet, even if you've been diligently working at it? Or when you tell yourself you'll get that garage decluttered by the end of the year, come hell or high water, and then life intervenes and it doesn't happen. I've started to think that a healthier way to think about these personal goals is as a directional compass rather than a finish line. I don't need to move fast. I need to move at a speed that reflects whatever else is happening in my life and that's able to absorb new information, new real deadlines, etc. Now, don't get me wrong. If I've made a commitment that will affect others, I do everything in my power to be accountable. But for some of these personal goals, the most important thing to me is to be holding steady and moving in the right direction. Now, what about hobbies and creative interests? There's all this stuff that we do, or hopefully we are making time for it, particularly in our personal lives, that we do for the value that doing it brings us. And I think that there's a lot of value in not having deadlines for hobbies and creative work. Now, for me, my primary hobbies are knitting and crocheting, pottery and reading. But as you listen today, just replace these examples with whatever your hobbies are, right? You don't need to be doing the same hobbies that I'm doing, right? Now, when I'm knitting or crocheting, I'm doing it because I enjoy the process and it's something to do with my hands. So, yes, I'm working on projects, and those projects are goals that will eventually get completed by some date, but I don't know what that date is. And more importantly, I don't need to know. Adding a deadline to a creative project like this, it actually brings me nothing but stress. Now, sometimes I might want to knit a blanket for a new baby in my community or something like that. But you know what? If it's not done before the birth, that's okay. I'll bring them a lasagna instead. Babies need blankets for a good long time, and if I gift it later, nobody is going to be sad about that. Another example, you know, as I think I've mentioned a few times, I've gotten really into pottery over the last year. My original goal was to be able to throw bowls big enough for pho, and it took a long time. There wasn't really a way to rush it because you just get better with practice and you get better and better and better. And I achieved that original goal a little while ago. But now I have some other goals for things that I'd like to throw. But I don't have timelines for those either. I just need to practice, and I'll get there when I get there. The arbitrary deadline doesn't actually add anything to the process. But I want to know what you think. Let me know. You can reach out to me. Do you like arbitrary deadlines? Do they motivate you or do they make you feel bad? Before you go, I want to share something super exciting. Enrollment is open right now for my group coaching program, Time Well Spent, but it won't be for long. Enrollment closes on Thursday, September 5th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, I only open enrollment twice a year, so if doing more and stressing less is something that you'd like to do, well, you owe it to yourself to at least check it out and see if it feels like a good fit. The link is in the show notes. Now, what the heck is Time Well Spent? Well, it's a self paced course with 10 live coaching sessions with me and a super supportive community of other people just like you, and a private Slack group to get support from me and others in the community whenever you need it. Now, by the end of the 10-week program, you'll banish overwhelm. You'll learn how to use your time intentionally in service of your own goals and values so that you can feel good at the end of every single day about what you've accomplished. Instead of wishing you had time for friends, for family, for hobbies, or even sleep, you'll be making it happen. You'll build a single trusted system for your tasks and your projects, and you'll actually be using it consistently. You'll have one simple, streamlined system to handle everything you have to do or want to do so that nothing falls through the cracks and no balls are dropped. Instead of feeling like the days or the weeks or the months are happening to you, you'll be in control. You'll be using your time intentionally. You'll be spending that time in service of your own goals and values so that you can say every day with confidence, what I did today was more important than what I didn't do. And if you don't do something, it'll be because you chose not to, not because it slipped your mind or you ran out of time. You'll have greatly reduced your stress. No more running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You'll have learned to respond rather than react and to calmly integrate new information, projects, and tasks into your system. The weight of the world will be lifted off your shoulders. You'll be able to be present at work and at home without the guilt. Because on top of what you need to do, you won't be relying on memory. You'll be actively engaged with whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it with without the constant mental to do list running in the background. You'll take control of your time. The days, weeks, and months won't simply be happening to you anymore. You'll have taken control. You'll fall asleep with a clear head, knowing that you're on top of it all and not forgetting a thing. If that sounds good to you, the link with all the details and to enroll is in the show notes. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Do More, Stress Less podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with somebody who could use a little less stress in their life. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're excited to take action or you need a little extra support, check out the free resources available on my website or schedule a free consultation call with me. You can do both of these at alexishasselberger.com. See you next time.